Okay, seems to be leveling off, so we'll go ahead and we'll get started. Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us today for the Graduate Admissions Workshop. I'd like to start by making some introductions. My name is Sally Binney, and I'm the Graduate Admissions Manager at the Graduate Division. The Admissions Office oversees admission for all programs campus-wide, except for the School of Medicine and the School of Pharmacy. Joining me today are two of my colleagues from the Graduate Division in the Student Affairs Unit, Shauna Slebiota and Angeline Yang, and we will be presenting for you today. I'd like to explain the agenda for the day. So we have a wide array of potential students joining in today. Some of you have already started applications or intend to apply for fall 2021. However, others of you don't intend to apply until fall 22 or even fall 23. As such, we will start off with a general how-to guide to cover general information you will want to know about applying to UC San Diego. This will be followed by a 5-minute question and answer session. Please put your questions in the Q&A box below, not the chat. Next, Shauna Slebiota will be giving an overview on funding. This will give you a high-level view on options for funding your education, again, followed by a 5-minute Q&A session. And last, we will have Angeline Yang discuss the importance of research, and we'll give detailed information on the STARS program, which is the Summer Training Academy for Research Success. Angeline runs the STARS program here at UC San Diego. For those of you who are planning to apply for fall 21, feel free to stay for the last portion, or feel free to drop off if you've already done your research and your questions have been answered. Feel free to drop off, but you can also stay for the whole presentation. And let's get started with the how-to guide. So what you need to apply to UC San Diego? Well, you need a bachelor's degree or equivalent from an accredited institution in the United States or from a recognized university level academic institution abroad. We also require a B average, which at UC San Diego is a 3.0 because we're on a 4.0 scale, but it is the equivalent. So when you're filling out your application, put in whatever scale is used at your institution. For international students, we require an English language proficiency test. Most people take the TOEFL. We also accept IELTS and the Pearson test of English. I put GRE on here. Generally, in normal years, GRE is required by many departments, but many this year have temporarily waived the GRE due to COVID. And I'll talk a little bit about this, more about this as we get into the components of the application, but just wanted to bring that to your attention. So important links, you may want to take a picture, but our grad division website is grad.ucsd.edu. And these following links are all from that website. I would start, if you're looking to apply to UC San Diego, by going onto our FAQ. It'll answer most questions. If your questions are not answered, you can always reach out to our office. Very, very important is the program directory, and I'm going to talk a lot about this, but this is someplace you want to go to conduct your research to see what programs we offer and what their requirements are. Once you have it figured out, you know what you want to apply for. Our application portal is gradapply.ucsd.edu. You can type that in directly, or you can reach the application through our Graduate Division website. So when you click on our program directory, you're going to see you can either click on all programs, or if you know you're interested in, say, Scripps Institution of Oceanography, you can go right to that and it'll list everything that Scripps offers. Or it could be the Jacobs School of Engineering. So, but if you want to see everything, I would click on all programs. So it'll give, and this is a very small part of it, but it'll give an alphabetical list of everything that we offer by department. So for instance, you want to see what's available in mechanical and aerospace engineering. So this is their department, and if you click on it, it'll show that these are the different offerings that they have: aerospace engineering, applied mechanics, applied ocean science, engineering physics, and mechanical engineering. So say I'm interested in aerospace engineering, I'm going to click on that, and it's going to show me what programs we offer. So in this particular case, we offer a BSMS for current UCSD students only, but they also offer an MS and a PhD. I've clicked on MS. So the top of this page, and I'll show the bottom of the page next, but it's going to show you that they have a fall admissions term. This is the only term that they admit, and their application deadline. They also have a website, so you can go to their website and get other information that might be important to you. And if you have questions that are specific to that program, they give you an email address. The bottom part of the page will give you all of their requirements. I picked this one before they waived their GRE, so this particular program has actually waived their GRE, but if the GRE is required, that's what it would look like. If you don't see a GRE, then it means it's been waived. Other departments have put in verbiage that they have waived the GRE temporarily, but it gives you information on the English proficiency exams, and it's going to show you how many letters of recommendation are required. And in terms of letters of recommendation, when you're filling out your application, you're going to put your recommenders in. You can submit your application before they actually submit their references for you, but go back and check your student portal to make sure that they are in fact submitting them. And if not, send out a friendly reminder, because if in this case, if they require a minimum of 3 recommendations, they're not going to review you till all 3 recommendations are in. Statement of purpose and resume CV, these are required by most departments across campus, but what you really want to take note of is there any word limit? And in this case, there is a word limit. And you want to make sure if you're applying to multiple programs or multiple schools, you maybe start a spreadsheet and keep it very, very well organized, because you want to make sure you understand what is required for each program you're applying to. So once you're ready to go, this is what our application looks like. For first-time users, you're going to go in and create an account. I highly recommend that you use the same name and email address for your application that you use on any testing for GRE or TOEFL, because those will automatically populate into our system. For returning users, you're just going to come back and use the returning users login. Big takeaway, give yourself plenty of time. You want to be as thorough as you possibly can in your application. So how does it work at UC San Diego? Well, when you start your application, if you have any technical issues, you would contact the graduate admissions office and we would help you. But once your application is fully paid and submitted, it goes to the academic department. Academic departments have full discretion on whom they want to nominate. So when you have specific questions about departments, or about programs, you want to contact the department, but they have full discretion. It's not until your application is nominated, that's when it'll come back to graduate admissions. We make sure that you meet the criteria that I outlined at the beginning of the presentation. And if you do, then an email is generated by the system that will tell you to check your application portal that an update has been made. So what are the components of the application? You have recommendations, transcripts, test scores, statement of purpose, and supplemental materials. So I'm going to go through each of these individually. So for recommendations, first, like I said, you will put these in your application, but you can submit your application and make sure you monitor it. But well before that, make sure you're contacting recommenders in advance. You want to give them ample time, and you also want to have a conversation with them and make sure that they are going to be willing to write you a very good letter of recommendation. And if they seem kind of wishy-washy, maybe pick somebody else, but have that lined up in advance. These are generally people that you've done work with, you've done research with, just not somebody that you maybe got an A in their class, but they have no idea who you are. We're talking about people that you've established a relationship with. And once you've done that, you want to give them the application deadlines. You want to send them your CV or resume, your GPA, your statement of purpose, something that they can work off of. you're going to ask them outright to write about your ability to succeed in graduate school, because that's what a lot of the reviewers are going to want to know. What is your ability to continue on and be successful at the graduate level? If you're checking your portal and people have not submitted their letters of recommendation, send them a reminder, and definitely send a reminder 2 weeks before the deadline if they still have not submitted their recommendation. Once they've submitted a recommendation, I highly recommend you send a thank you email. And once you've decided what school you're going to attend, it's again courtesy to send them an email letting them know where you decided to attend. Transcripts. In your application, you will be uploading unofficial copies of transcripts. Transcripts must show the following information. So we have to have your name, we have to have the institution name, dates of attendance, grades or marks received, credit, a grading legend, if needed, and degree conferral. You could, if you've already graduated, you could upload an official copy of your transcript. Some people will pull information off like a student portal, but make sure it has all this information, because if it doesn't have your name or the institution name, even if you've been nominated, once it gets to the graduate admissions level, we're going to be reaching out and asking you to upload something that has all this information. So upload it at the beginning. One other thing I wanted to talk about is, even if you upload a copy of an official transcript into your application, we are still going to admit you as provisional. And what that means is you are still going to have to provide us with official transcripts, and those are transcripts and any other documents that come directly to our office from the institutions you have listed in your application. At that time, we will finalize you. So test scores. When you're filling out your application, your test scores can be self-reported. Official test scores for the GRE should be sent to institution code 4836, but again, a lot of departments have waived that. So make sure you know whether your department needs it or not. And again, use the same name and email on your test, any test scores as your application. We now import IELTS, TOEFL, GRE, all through ETS and IELTS. So those will come in and they'll verify your scores more quickly. We can still look it up if like the birth date is wrong. But again, if you want your verified scores to come in as quickly as possible, make sure you use the same name and email address. Statement of purpose. In the statement of purpose, be sure to address your audience. So this statement should be customized for this school and this program. And I have been at the departmental level and been in reviews, and somebody applying to UC San Diego has dropped in their statement of purpose for Berkeley. So you really, really want to take the time to go through each and every application to make sure it's complete and it is geared towards that school. You want to take this opportunity to discuss your accomplishments and goals. Angeline is going to speak later about research, and this is a place where you would want to talk about the research you've done and the research you wish to continue to do. Make sure you proofread, you can get feedback, have other people look at it, edit it, but this is a very, very key component. At the departmental level, they're going to be looking at your transcripts, they're going to be looking at your statement of purpose, and they're going to be looking at your resume or CV. So supplemental materials. This consists of the resume or CV, a portfolio, writing sample, course list, publications, or any program-specific questions. So your resume or CV, again, most departments are going to require this. If you have a lot of research and a lot of publications, I recommend heading more towards the CV. If you're undergrad, maybe go more towards a resume and put your degree, maybe some jobs you've done, research, but that is a required component of most departments. Portfolio and writing sample, this really pertains more to the arts. Course list, some departments, not all, want to know if you've taken specific courses or if you have any publications. And oftentimes these are found on the program specific questions tab. So in our application, we have all of our universal tabs, and then every department can have a program specific tab. And the universal ones are exactly what it sounds like. Everybody filling out an application to UC San Diego has to fill those out. The program specific questions vary department by department, and they're just looking for information. It could be, like I said, specific courses, publications, what areas of research, what faculty you want to work with. So that's what you're going to see in program specific questions. So that's an overview. If you have any question, you could take a picture of this, but this is my office, or our office, Graduate Admissions Office at Graduate Division. And we'll answer as many questions as we possibly can. And if we're not the people to answer them, we can head you in the right direction. So we will now answer any questions.
So Sally, one of the questions that we have multiple of are on the letters of recommendations. May we submit our applications before our letter of recommenders upload their letters?
Yes, yes, you can. So you just need to put in who your recommenders are, and then you can submit your application. But what I was saying before is make sure that you're going back onto your student portal, because you can see on there if your recommenders have submitted a recommendation. And so if you've submitted, say, 5 letters of recommendation and only 2 have responded, and you need 3 to be reviewed, you need to be emailing the people and just, reminding them that the deadline is approaching or the deadline has passed, and to please submit that letter of recommendation.
Are those recommenders notified when they've actually uploaded those letters?
The system
And when the student has completed their application?
No, what the recommenders get is when you enter their name and email address, they receive an email saying that you have requested a recommendation and to please submit a recommendation. That will go through, and it's up to you to make sure that they have done it, because I don't think anything gets kicked back to them. But if they have submitted it and and it's not showing up, that's a case that you would reach out to Graduate Admissions and we would help you out with that. But these recommendations do need to come directly from the recommender.
Is there a way to rank order our recommenders within the application?
No, you're just gonna make sure that you put in people that you think are going to, not think, but you've had discussions with that you believe are going to give you a good review. And if they require 3 letters of recommendation and you've put 5 in and all 5 respond, they will look at all 5 in the review process.
Do we submit transcripts for study abroad programs?
If it shows on your main college transcript, then no. If it's something that is not showing on or it just lists out the institution, but it doesn't list out what you studied, then I would include that. You want to make sure in your academic history that you're including everything that you've done. And in some cases, say you start off at a community college and you move over to a 4-year institution, that will show up on your 4-year institution transcript. But it's good to submit everything, a transcript for everything for all institutions where you've studied, just because it's easier for the people to review.
Okay. For the UCSD transcript, can we directly submit the one generated by my Triton link?
Yes, just again, make sure whatever you're submitting has your name and the school name. But for UCSD, for official transcripts, you do, if you're accepted, or if you're admitted and accepted, and you do have to ask UCSD to send us a transcript. We don't have any magical way of pulling transcripts for undergraduates from UCSD.
Okay. How can I apply for a postdoc position?
You would need to contact the postdoc department. I do not oversee that at all, but that would be, if you reach out to Graduate Admissions, we can head you in the right direction.
If the GRE is waived, how would it be beneficial to send the scores anyway?
Some departments are still going to look at them. Some departments are not. If you've taken it and done well and you want to add them, nothing's going to prevent you from putting it into your application.
Is it recommended to put the score in anyway? Sorry, I wasn't sure if you already answered this.
Again, some departments are going to look at it and some aren't. It's really up to you.
Okay. If I have a master's with a GPA above 3.5 from a US university, will you consider my undergrad GPA too?
Say your undergrad is below a 3.0 and you have a 3.5 for your master's. If the department allows, and most departments do, we can admit on the GPA for the master's.
Is it possible to pursue one degree simultaneously, i.e. a PhD in integrative studies music and then an MA in ethnomusicology if there are some overlapping classes?
No, at UCSD, we do not allow for concurrent enrollment. If you're in, a PhD program, that's the only program. And it also means not only can you not be enrolled simultaneously at UCSD, you cannot be enrolled simultaneously at another institution. And if transcripts come in and we see that you are simultaneously enrolled, we will require a withdrawal from the other institution.
Were students who are accepted to were students who are accepted to programs for 2020 offered the option to defer their acceptance due to COVID-19? And if so, do you expect this to have a significant impact on the acceptance rates for 2021?
So yes, we saw, as you can imagine, a very high deferral rate in fall 2020. We are now trying to determine how many of those students intend to come back. And I'm not sure how it's going to affect enrollment. I know some departments are saying they're just going to admit their normal amount, and some are saying that they are going to admit fewer because they have a lot of deferrals. So really, I think that's a program by program situation.
So we have a lot more questions, but I know we have a couple of other presentations. Do you want to continue asking questions or shall we answer these in the text?
Let's answer them in the text and we'll move on with the presentation because I don't want to cut into your time and Shauna's time. But also any questions that you have that we don't answer today, please reach out to grad admissions and we're happy to help you.
And don't forget, we still have our booths, so you can continue asking these questions at the our grad booth as well. Thank you, everyone.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. So my name is Shauna Slabiota. My pronouns are she and her, and I work in the graduate division. And today I will be talking about funding for graduate programs. And I will say that after we finish this portion of our presentation, there will be another opportunity to answer questions or ask questions about funding. So please add those to the chat and I'll be taking a look at them a little bit later after the presentation. Can we go to the next? Perfect. Okay, so for the purposes of today's presentation, I'm really going to be focusing on master's and doctoral degrees. And the reason for that is because it's the majority of the programs that we have at UC San Diego. Now you may be interested in other graduate programs, maybe med school, law school, nursing, pharmacy, etc. Those all have different structures in terms of the tuition and the funding that's available. So I would encourage you to definitely check those out if that's what you're interested in. Again, for the purposes of today, I'm going to be focusing on these two types of degrees. And this is just a very quick snapshot, sort of comparing the different programs. And I like to start here because when we're talking about funding, definitely the type of degree that you are looking at is going to affect the way that the funding and the fee structure works, as well as the timing of the degree. And if it's coursework or research-based, then that's going to change the opportunities that might be available, especially in regards to a fellowship or a research grant. So I like to kind of start here just so we are all starting on the same page. Master's degrees are shorter time frame than a doctoral degree. while a master's degree might have a research component, it is not a requirement as opposed to a doctoral degree where the research is actually the focus. So after your second year or so, you may not even be taking any courses. All you're doing is your original research that's going to be going into your dissertation. And so for a master's, in addition to the coursework, your final requirements might be a capstone project, a comprehensive exam. It could be a research thesis. That could be an option, but it doesn't necessarily have to be a thesis. And again, the doctoral degree, your final steps to getting that degree is a submission of your doctoral dissertation and the oral defense that you will complete in front of your committee. So I just find that this is a helpful place to start as we go on to talk about funding. And UCSD offers a variety of programs, both at the master's and the doctoral level. I should also mention teaching credentials. So within our Department of Education Studies, there's also the opportunity for some teaching credentials that students might be interested if that's the path that you're on. And they also have a little bit of a different structure, so just keep that in mind. Can we go to the next slide? Great. So these are other program considerations to be thinking about as you are looking at the funding for your degree. So we've talked a little bit about the length and the type of program, the format of the program. So if it is in person, online, or hybrid, that's all going to affect the way that this fee structure goes. And one other thing about the length of the program, so even within the same field of study, there may be some differences in the length of a program. So for example, my master's degree program was in education and it was a one-year program, but there are other programs that are in a similar field that are 2 years of study. So that's just something to keep in mind. Will you be able to work part of the time that you're studying, or will you need to be quitting the employment field to go back to school full time? These are all considerations that you need to be thinking about when you are considering a graduate program. So the type of institution, oh, sorry, can we go back? The type of institution is definitely something else to consider. So we are at a UC school, which is a public institution. Public institutions tend to be a little cheaper than private, but then a private school has a different structure in the way that they do their awards. There could be alums that are providing support in a particular area. There's it's just a different kind of structure in the way that they give their money. So you want to take into account all of these things. In-state versus out-of-state tuition, definitely a consideration. At UC San Diego, our out-of-state tuition for 1 year is about $30,000 versus our in-state tuition, which is about $17,000. So definitely want to take that into account as well as you're looking at programs. And then I really encourage prospective students, when they're looking at a program, to think about the cost of living in that area. So for example, there's a UC school in San Francisco, and there's a UC school in Merced. And the tuition, there's some differences in the tuition between the schools, but they're both UC schools, so they're fairly comparable, but the cost of living in San Francisco and the cost of living in Merced is very different. So these are all factors that you want to consider as you're looking at funding your grad degree. And the whole reason we're talking about this is so that you have an accurate figure for what your program's going to cost you. Because if you know exactly how much it's going to cost, then you can work to get fellowships, awards, grants to pay for as much of that as you can and try and minimize the amount that's coming directly out of your pocket to pay for these programs. All right, so these are typical ways that students are able to fund their programs. This is a general idea, so it's definitely not the be all end all. So private scholarships, private awards, definitely want to check these out. I will provide you with some resources a little bit later, some websites where you can search for fellowships and scholarships based on a variety of criteria. So definitely want to check out any kind of private awards that are out there. Loans are on here. Loans are definitely an opportunity. I would encourage you to check out your other options before going to the loans if that's possible, especially if you might have loans from your undergraduate degree. To the extent that you can kind of minimize those loans, it's always a great thing, but it's absolutely an option if that is something that you want to pursue. The employer sponsored is under a master's degree. That's a little bit more typical simply because it's more likely that if a student is working and doing a graduate degree, that they're going to be at the master's level. It's a little less likely for the doctoral level. That being said, there's exceptions to this. There are doctoral students who are working. So you might be able to get some assistance from your employer if you're working to help fund that degree. Oftentimes, this means that you have to commit to working at that employer for a certain amount of time. So if that was already your plan, I would definitely check this out. If you're not planning to stay at the employer for too long, you'll have to weigh that. You have to weigh that decision when you're looking at starting a graduate program and going back to school, and how much assistance you might be able to get from your employer. There's also fellowships on here. I think it's under doctoral degree, but certainly there's fellowships that are available for master students as well. I'll talk a little bit about that in a moment. Also, student employment. A lot of our graduate students work on campus as researchers, as instructional assistants, and so that all counts as part of the funding that they're getting for their award, as well as research grants. This is also an option when you're looking at funding your graduate program. Okay, so these are the websites that I mentioned just a little bit ago. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy these links, and I'm going to go ahead and put these in the chat so that you'll be able to check out the websites. So these are a lot of great places that you can go to find scholarships and fellowships that you would be able to apply for to help fund your degree. And I do want to mention really quickly that when we talk about fellowships for graduate school, they are either going to be internal fellowships or external fellowships. The difference between these two is an external fellowship that you might get, for example, an NSF award, a Ford Fellowship, a Hertz Fellowship. Those are awards that are external to the institution, which means that the student can take them with them no matter what program they ultimately decide to attend. You may be given, or you may be offered, an internal fellowship that's specific to the institution. On my next slide, I'm going to list some of the internal fellowships that we have at UC San Diego. But the thing to keep in mind is that it's only something that would be able to be used if you attended that school. It would not be transferable to another institution. But in regards to these databases that I have linked here, some really great resources here. Like I said, you can search for different criteria. So you might search based on the field of study that you're interested in. You might search for opportunities that are available for master's students as well as doctoral students, or vice versa. You might be able to search based on various criteria. And so you can really narrow down to try and find the opportunities that are going to fit best for you. And so I would definitely encourage you to check these out. The last two, I want to call it specifically, Científico Latino and Immigrants Rising, offer opportunities that are available for students who are undocumented. So definitely good resources to check out. All right, thanks. So for those of you who attended the welcome this morning, our Associate Dean, Emily Roxworthy, mentioned some of the awards that the Graduate Division manages for graduate students. And I've just put the link into the chat here for the Graduate Division's website, which has all of the information about these awards. So these are internal UC San Diego awards. You wouldn't be able to take them to another school. The things that I want to mention is, for the most part, these awards are multi-year awards. So the exception would be for certain master's programs with the Tribal Membership Initiative. They may only cover for 1 year, but I believe that's the only exception. I think everything else is going to cover you for multiple years. So that's great, great information to have. And I encourage you to check the website, because for some of these awards, they do have eligibility requirements. It could be in a certain field. For example, the Sloan Scholar Award that I work very closely with is open to individuals that are in physical sciences or engineering. And some of these awards are open to master's students, but some are only for doctoral. So I definitely encourage you to check out our website and take a look at the opportunities that exist here. And then, like Associate Dean Roxworthy mentioned, when you are in your application, you fill out the additional educational experiences section, and that is what is going to put you in the running for the awards that we have at UC San Diego. And then just, this is just the last piece that I'm going to talk about, student employment. So the fellowships that I've just been discussing, that's money, that's a stipend that's given to you without a work, an employment that's expected of you. However, a lot of our graduate students do work as student employees during their time at UC San Diego, and they work as researchers or instructional assistants. So you may have heard the term GSR. Other institutions will call it an RA, a research assistant, similar roles. Instructional assistants are typically TAs, teaching assistants, or tutors or readers, and they help the faculty with their courses. So you might be doing more research work, or you might be doing classwork or helping with courses. And the thing that differentiates this is you're hired by the university as an employee to carry out certain tasks. There are hours that are associated with it that you have to work, and then you're given a paycheck for the hours that you work. So this is a little bit different than, say, an NSF fellowship, which might pay you a stipend of $10,000 for the whole year, or $20,000 for the whole year, and it's a flat amount. The employment piece is going to differ because it's based on employment and hours worked. So that's the end of my slides, and I am available for any questions about the material I just covered.
Okay, first question, hold on, was can you define doctoral dissertation?
Sure. So a dissertation is the document that encompasses all of your research. It's sometimes called, it's sometimes said that you've written a book. You've become such an expert in your chosen field that you write a book about the work that you've done. So with your doctoral degree, you engage in an original research project, and you study it for 5 to 7 years, and then you take all of the work and everything you accomplished and you write it up in your dissertation. Hopefully that's enough.
Yeah, thank you. Do most out-of-state students get an out-of-state tuition waiver with any kind of fellowship or scholarship?
So, so that's a great question, and I will say that it depends on your institution for sure. At UC San Diego, if you're receiving a fellowship, that's great, but after your first year in the graduate program, it's generally expected that, and this would be for a domestic student, so not an international student. It would be expected that you would try to apply for California residency. Um, if not, your program could potentially make you pay the difference in the tuition. So this is something that's really good to know upfront, first day that you start that program, or even before the first day when you are talking to the program before coming, ask them about the tuition and ask them how you get to become a resident if that's a concern of yours, because you definitely don't want to be responsible for paying that difference if you don't have to.
Okay, hold on. Are UC San Diego fellowships available for international students?
So it's best to check online for the availability. They're each structured slightly differently. Um, Angeline, is the STARS Fellowship open to international students?
Stars Fellowship is not open to international students. It's
Oh,
only open to U.S. citizens, AB 540 DACA, and permanent residents.
okay. So definitely you would want to double check all of those requirements. I don't think a lot of them are available, if any, to international students, unfortunately. But that's why I would check the other links that we included to some of these other sites.
And I apologize. I want to make a correction. The STARS program is eligibility is for AB 540, but not the fellowship.
Okay. Well, and also tribal membership, I don't know if that's a requirement because I know some of the tribal um, lands kind of might cover like a different nation possibly. So, I mean, that's another one that students might need to look into.
Okay, a question for the awards at UCSD. Should we focus more on mentioning how many different types of experiences we have, or should we focus on one and elaborate on that?
That's a tough question because it's so subjective. That's a tough one. I mean, I think if you have a role that you or an organization that you're involved in or a leadership opportunity and you do it for like 2 years in your undergrad, that's probably going to be a really rich experience. I would encourage you to really dive into that. If you have an opportunity that you only did for like 3 to 6 months and you write about a couple of those, um, that's good too. But if you've had a really rich experience, I would probably focus on that to the extent that you can. And then if you are able to elaborate on some of these other experiences, that's fine. But I guess I would focus on just something that's been very impactful for you.
Okay, and here's another one that's very similar to that. For the experience section for scholarships, is it advisable to include work experience, even if it isn't academic, but took up over 10 years of your life?
I would say absolutely. You just need to be able to talk about what you gained from that experience, what you're taking away, how you developed um, as a professional during that time. I would absolutely talk about that. I would say with a caveat though that you want it to be um, to a certain extent connected to what you'd be doing in your graduate degree. So however you can connect those two, that's really what's going to be the best. But for 10 years experience, I mean, you must have grown definitely during that time. You probably learned a lot of skills. I would absolutely talk about that, even though it may not be in an academic setting. When you are a graduate student, you are a professional in your field. You have chosen a field that you are specializing in. And so from day one, the other people in your program, they're your colleagues. The people that you're working with as faculty members, as research advisors, those are your mentors in your area. So, I think having that attitude of I'm a professional, I have this work experience, I've done all of these things. I think that's good to have at the beginning because it's something I would encourage throughout a grad program.
So we'll do one more question for the financial portion of this presentation, and then we'll move on to Angeline. How do we apply for UC San Diego fellowships again? Is it separate application than we submit to the program?
It's part of the program application. It's an optional section of the application. So when you go through, you'll submit all of the things Sally was talking about, your transcripts, your letters of rec, your test scores. Before you apply, there will be an optional section that's additional educational experiences. And that's the piece that you want to fill out before you submit your application.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank
And
you.
Angeline.
Hi, everyone. My name is Angeline Villanueva Yang, and I'm the director for STARS, which is the Summer Training Academy for Research Success. I'm going to talk a little bit about research opportunities for those folks who are still preparing for graduate school. Next slide, please. So if you're interested in getting to know the UC San Diego campus, I recommend you take a picture of this slide. These are some of those summer research opportunities that are available to students who are outside of UC San Diego as well. And so you can see that there's a number of programs such as Enlace, which is for international students from Mexico. We have some programs that are at Scripps Institute of Oceanography, which is the MPL Summer Internship Program. And you can see that these opportunities are in many different areas of, engineering, physics, applied math, chemistry, biology. So it's generally in any area that we offer a PhD program or master's program in at UC San Diego. And I'm going to talk to you about STARS, which is open to all majors as well. Next slide, please. So if you're interested in gaining a research experience with our faculty, getting to know our administrators and campus departments, STARS is a great way to get to know, the campus, get to know the kinds of research that we do, get to know the research and whether you're interested in actually, considering a PhD program and our graduate students. And it's a really great way to connect with our campus. Next slide, please. And so it is 8 weeks long. It's a residential program where you're gonna get to live on campus, move in on Sunday, June 20th, 2021, and then move out on Friday, August 13th. And you're gonna be participating in this program with students from all across the nation, engaging in research for about 32 to 40 hours a week. Next slide, please. And STARS itself will have opportunities within the campus where we offer master's programs. So our campus offers 70 different PhD programs. And so this is some of our STEM academic departments. Next slide, please. We have about 3,000 students in our doctoral programs. And these are some of our non-STEM academic departments on campus. So you can see these opportunities. Next slide, please. We have about 6,000 students in our graduate programs. And so it'll give you an opportunity to participate in GRE. So although a lot of our PhD programs right now are not requiring the GRE because of COVID, there's an opportunity to take this, GREs, thousands of dollars to take these preparation classes. You have an optional to take the GRE. What we do is you'll take the pretest before you begin the program, and then you'll do an intensive during the first week of STARS. There's study sessions, and then at the end, you'll be able to take a post-test to see how your score has changed. And then you'll also have this opportunity to receive weekly mentorship from our PhD students. What we'll do is we'll group you in small groups where you're all in the same discipline with a PhD student who's going to help prepare you for your graduate school applications. Next slide, please. And you'll also have an opportunity to participate in the STARS conference. The STARS conference is like a mini conference. You have these national conferences like ABRCMS and SACNAS. We'll have a mini STARS conference where you'll do mini workshops throughout the day And those are on, preparing for graduate school applications as well, looking at the personal statement, the applications itself, and fellowships. And then at the end of summer, you'll also be able to present the research that you did during the summertime. And that will be with all of the different summer programs that have also participated in summer research. Next slide, please. STARS is a really great opportunity to build these lifelong networks and friendships. So the students who participate in the program will be coming from community colleges, from our CSU, which is California State Universities, our UC system, which is University of California colleges. We have our historically Black colleges and universities, and then we have our private institutions. So you'll see that you're having this opportunity to network with students from all over the US. Next slide, please. And we'll also then have these students who are, you've done your research, you've done a presentation at our campus, and you've basically prepared to present at these national conferences. What ends up happening is a lot of our students will end up reconvening at these national conferences, rooming together, and then meeting up with each other, and then presenting again at these national conferences. So it's a really great way to make these lifelong friendships. Next slide, please. So our eligibility is that you need to at least be 18 years old. You need to at least be a US citizen, permanent resident, AB 540 or DACA to be eligible, be interested in conducting full-time research for 8 weeks on campus with no other commitments like summer school or full-time job, and then have demonstrated this academic aptitude and achievement. Next slide, please. And so what we provide is your application is free, your program is free, and your housing is free. And then your round trip travel to the US if you're coming outside of San Diego or California area. And then you'll also receive a stipend of $4,000. And so something to note is Shauna just talked about fellowships. There is a pipeline where if you've participated in STARS, then you'll also be have this STARS fellowship that if you're accepted to UC San Diego, you have this tuition and fees and a stipend available to you, and our Shore priority housing, as well as participation in Competitive Edge, which is essentially like a summer bridge program where you're participating in activities to transition to UC San Diego. Next slide, please. And so our application materials are all completely online. There is a page that talks about who the different faculty are who are mentoring student and what their projects are. And you can select who those 3 faculty that you would like to work with are, and tell us why your research aligns with ours. You're gonna include a personal statement, your CV or resume, and then your unofficial transcripts. And on our website, there is information on each of these areas if you wanna know what we're looking for in our personal statement, or what some of the criteria that our personal letters of references can include. And then you have your 2 letters of recommendations, and those will go directly to the urstars@ucsd.edu email address. Next slide, please. And so on our website, you'll see that list of projects that we have. Something to note is when you're, right now it's the STARS 2020 research project, so you can get an idea of what we had last summer. And it'll be updated around November 18th when our application opens up, with who the 2021 faculty are and what their different projects are. Something you want to notice is these prerequisites. So if you're in biological sciences and the faculty that you're interested in working with is requiring that you know Python, then do not apply to that particular research opportunity if you don't have the Python background. You want to make sure you meet those prerequisites by the time you're actually doing that research opportunity. That way you can ensure that you set yourself up for success for the summertime. Next slide, please. And so our application opens up on November 18th, and our deadline closes on January 27th at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And our application is at grad.ucsd.edu/stars. And you can just Google UCSD and STARS. Next slide, please. And so something to know that we've done last summer was because of COVID, we did run STARS remotely. So we are currently planning for both a remote and in-person format. So with COVID, if it's still not safe to be convening in person, then we will still have STARS remotely. All right, so if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer those now.
Okay, so go ahead.
Okay, so Angeline, there's a question that says, can master's students apply to STARS and other summer research programs?
Yes. So for STAR specifically, as long as you are not already accepted into a PhD program or participated in one, then you and you have a master's, that's fine. You are still eligible. As for other summer research programs, I can't speak to those because I do not know.
Are there non-traditional students participating in STARS, i.e. students with children? How does that work?
Yes, so we've definitely had students with children. If you have children or other dependents that you're taking care of, you're accepting students. However, if we are living on campus, you are the only person who will be able to live on campus. If you have a situation where you have a child and you cannot live on campus with your child, then we'll just have a conversation about how we'll be able to manage that. So that'll be an outside conversation. And we have taken students with other non-traditional backgrounds as well.
So this is, again, I think there's a few questions, Angeline, about people applying when they're still in their undergrad degree or maybe after they've graduated. So can you maybe speak about that a little bit? So like if somebody graduates in June 2021, would they still be able to participate in STARS in the summer of 2021?
So as long as you are, the minimum eligibility is that you're 18 years old, you're a US citizen, AB 540, DACA, permanent resident, and that you have not already been accepted to a PhD program. So if you apply to STARS, you're also applying to PhD programs and you're accepted to a PhD program, then you will not be eligible for STARS because you're already in a PhD program and this is a program to prepare you for PhD. And so you're gonna wanna look at your specific campus to see if they have any other transition programs, like Competitive Edge would be a great program if you've already been accepted to a PhD to help you transition to the campus.
So kind of a little bit along those lines, is STARS to help boost your application or for those who are not currently in the application process?
So STARS is for students who are interested in understanding what graduate school is, who are considering graduate school and preparing for graduate school. So if you're, a freshman in community college and you're like, what's grad school? Well, this is a great opportunity to get an understanding of what it is. If you are, that you are planning on going to graduate school, then this is an excellent opportunity to really boost that resume, to get that research experience, to start making your connections with faculty on campus, and to really develop those relationships to get your letters of recommendations because they're going to know your research, they're going to know who you are, and sometimes those faculty, those people who are in those selection committees, and you can be able to speak then to the type of student and academic potential that you have. So it runs the gamut of everybody who's kind of considering and who already know that they're interested in grad school.
If someone is a US citizen studying at a foreign university, are they eligible for STARS?
So when we're looking at your eligibility, we're looking at whether you're a citizen. So it doesn't matter where you are in the country. If you're studying abroad or who knows, if you're not studying right now, or as long as you meet those minimum eligibility, you can apply.
Are they required to live on campus if they are accepted to STARS?
So assuming that we're in an in-person environment, we highly recommend that students live on campus because, the program is kind of three-pronged, right? You're participating in research, so you're getting an understanding of what research is like. You're participating in these professional development workshops and grad school prep workshops. Sometimes those happen in the evenings. And then also you're developing these lifelong relationships. And so the opportunity to really, be studying late at night with somebody to, develop those relationships where you're studying for the GRE during weekends, those kinds of things, it's a little harder to do when you're not on campus. However, if you have a situation where you just absolutely cannot be on campus, then we'll have a conversation about it and see how we can best support your needs. There are definitely students who have not lived on campus in the past. So we'll just have a conversation about that if you're accepted into the program.
I'm going to jump in here. We've reached 1 o'clock, so thank you everyone for attending. We are happy to stay on and continue to answer questions if anyone would like. But for those of you that need to kick off, thank you so much for attending. Shauna, did you want to continue with questions for Angeline?
I'm not sure. I'll have to double check if there's more for stars. There's quite a bit, Sally.